For this PowerPoint, I chose to do Chapter 20, Infectious Diseases Manifesting in the Nervous System. So we know our nervous system is very important. It's very important to our body. Carries out all the major things. Some anatomical features of the nervous system include the brain, the spinal cord, the spinal nerves, cranial nerves, neurotransmitters, and neurons. So just by listing everything here, it kind of gives you an idea that it's very, very important. So first we'll talk about our brain. Now the brain controls thoughts, memories, emotions. It controls our touch and motor skills. It controls how we breathe, the temperature of our body. Tells us when we're hungry, even though sometimes we know that's boredom speaking. And then with the spinal cord, the brain actually makes up the central nervous system, which I have here as the CNS abbreviated. So here we have our spinal cord, and we know that it connects our brain and our lower back. It contains tissues, fluid, and nerve cells. It also helps carry electrical nerve signals throughout the body. So your brain kind of starts that and it travels to that spinal cord and lets the rest of the body know what's up. It directs voluntary muscle movements. Without this, I wouldn't even be able to talk right now. My brain tells my body, hey, it's time to do this. Your spinal cord also monitors sensations of touch, pressure, temperature, and pain. Next, we're going to talk about those spinal nerves. So these interact directly with your spinal cord. These also modulate motor and sensory information. They actually form from nerve fibers, and they extend from the posterior and anterior roots of the spinal cord. So I kind of have a picture over here on the side, and you can see at the bottom of the spinal cord, they kind of branch off. And then as you come to the top of the spinal cord, they kind of branch off. Pretty neat. Here we have our cranial nerves. So these actually connect our brain to the other parts of the face, neck, and torso. And these play a big role in our sensation and movement. There are actually 12 cranial nerves, and these control our smell, equilibrium, vision, and hearing. So anything you smell, hear, and see, it's all because of these cranial nerves. If any of these are affected, you may not be able to smell as well, if at all, or hear, or even see. So they're very important things. Next, we have our neurotransmitters. So these are excitatory and inhibitory. So excitatory transmitters actually encourage a target cell to take action, where the inhibitory transmitters kind of decrease the chances of that target cell taking action. And these actually have a relaxation-like effect on your body. And last, we have our neurons. So the neurons actually have 3 parts. They consist of the dendrite, axon, and a soma. So the dendrites actually receive input from the other cells, and then that axon will carry out those electrical impulses from the brain to the rest of the body. And the soma kind of supports the chemical processing of the neuron. So all three very important parts to neurons. So next we're going to kind of talk about some natural defenses of your nervous system. These are the things that kind of keep everything in check and kind of like your little army defending the base. We have our cerebrospinal fluid, meninges, the hard bones of the skull and backbone, and the blood-brain barrier, which you'll see abbreviated as BBB. So first we have our cerebrospinal fluid. This is a clear fluid, and it kind of acts as a cushion that protects your brain and spinal cord from sudden impact or injury. So if you were in a car wreck, suddenly maybe come up and hit somebody, you're going to jerk. That cerebral spinal fluid is there to kind of protect your brain from kind of beating off your skull. It also removes waste from your brain, and it helps that central nervous system work properly. And the cerebral spinal fluid is actually contained by the meninges, which we'll go into now. So there are 3 layers of the meninges, and it consists of the dura mater, the arachnoid mater, and the pia mater. So these kind of provide a tight anchoring of CNS to those surrounding bones. It also provides stability, and it prevents the side-to-side movement of your brain. So it kind of keeps your brain right in place where it should be. Here we have the hard bones of the skull and the backbone. So sometime after birth, so many months down the road, your brain will harden and fuse together. And this is because it needs to do that to protect your cerebrum, cerebellum, brainstem, and your orbits. These will also provide structure for your face and your back, and they kind of support the body. Your backbone can support, the weight of your body and the weight of holding that head up. Your backbone also encases that spinal cord for protection. So you have your backbone, the spinal cord kind of runs down the middle, and that's the protective layer. And last we have your blood-brain barrier, or your BBB. This is composed of a tightly locked layer of cells. It is a key part in maintaining your brain's health. It will block any harmful substances or germs that could cause damage, and it maintains your brain's chemical balance. This is why a lot of brain infections and stuff, you can't really use medicine, because that blood-brain barrier will block that. It only allows barely anything in. So, very important part of your brain. And as of normal microbiota, there are actually none in the central nervous system because of that blood-brain barrier we just discussed. It blocks most microorganisms out, so there's no normal microbiota in your nervous system. We're going to talk about a little bit about meningitis. So this is an inflammation of the brain and spinal cord membranes, typically caused by infection. These can be viral, bacterial, or fungal. It can be spread through coughing, kissing, sharing utensils, toothbrushes, or cigarettes, which is gross anyways. Don't share your toothbrush. Symptoms may include a headache, fever, and or stiff neck. Depending on the cause, meningitis can get better on its own, but it may end up life-threatening and need urgent antibiotic treatment. Penicillin is usually the drug of choice for meningitis. Here we have inflammation of the nervous system. So we have meningoencephalitis, which is a rare condition where you have meningitis and encephalitis at the same time. Some examples of this condition would be West Nile, mumps, or tuberculosis. Encephalitis is inflammation of the brain, and this can be caused by herpes, West Nile, tick-borne viruses, or HIV. And then we have subacute encephalitis. So this is the one that affects the central nervous system. It's kind of like a viral infection that's related to measles. And last, we're going to talk about some diseases of the nervous system. So we have the Zika virus, rabies, poliomyelitis, tetanus, botulism, and the African sleeping sickness. First, we have the Zika virus. So this is actually spread by the bite of a mosquito. Symptoms can include a fever, a rash, a headache, joint and muscle pain, or red eyes. They link this to that Guillain-Barré syndrome. There's actually no vaccines available for Zika virus. They kind of just focus on relieving the symptoms of the infected individual. It's kind of scary because we know mosquitoes are everywhere. Next, we have rabies. And this is a deadly virus that is spread to humans by an animal bite. So dogs, bats, coyotes, foxes, and raccoons usually carry this disease. Symptoms can include fever, headache, confusion, increased saliva, and paralysis. Vaccination can prevent the infection, but once symptoms appear, the disease is fatal. So this is why they want you to kind of vaccinate your dogs. If you think that you may be infected, the best thing to do is go and start getting, they have a series of shots you'll take, because once the symptoms appear, then it'll be death. So better safe than sorry. Next, we have poliomyelitis. So this is a virus that causes paralysis. You can contract it through contaminated water, food, or other infected people. Many people don't usually become sick with poliomyelitis, but those who do usually develop paralysis, and it is sometimes fatal. So it's actually preventable by the polio vaccine. Here we have tetanus. So this is caused by a bacteria that is called Clostridium tetani. And you may know tetanus as lockjaw. So the symptoms include painful muscle spasms, and it may interfere with your breathing, which eventually can cause death. Muscle contractions are linked particularly to the neck and the jaw, hence the name lockjaw. Vaccine can prevent infection, but there is no known cure. So if you step on a rusty nail, the best thing to do is just go ahead and go get your Tdap vaccine. Here we have botulism, and this is a rare poisoning that is caused by toxins that attack the nerves. Symptoms may include difficulty speaking or swallowing, facial weakness, and paralysis. It's most commonly caused by improperly cooked food. Treatment is an antitoxin and breathing assistance. And here we have the African sleeping sickness. So this disease is actually caused by a parasite, and it is spread by the tsetse fly bites. Symptoms include fever, headache, joint pain, and itching. The tsetse flies are only found in rural Africa, hence the name, and treatment actually involves drugs used to kill the parasite.